Hello all, welcome to NetBook and welcome back to Mulesoft tutorials. In this video, I'm going to talk about Anypoint Designer, the overview, and then I will be designing one of the simple API. I'm going to take as a contact API and I'm going to show how we can design that API in Anypoint Designer. So in Anypoint platform, whenever you log in, you can see that design center over here. So API designer, so that is provides a web-based interface for designing, documenting, and for the testing of APIs. Over here, you can use this design center to create a API design and document that API, and then we can test that API. That is the main reason of this design center. You click on this start designing so that it will move it to API designer. That is design center, we will call it over here. With this API designer, the design center, what we can do is we can build a API specification and we can use the reusable API fragments. I will talk about API fragments in my coming videos. That means we are going to design an API over here using the API specification. You can write this API specification in two languages, that is RAML, REST API Modeling Language, or OAS, Open API Specification. And we can add this API to the Anypoint Exchange. I think we will look into that what is Anypoint Exchange also in a coming video for use of Flow Designer or in a studio, in Anypoint Studio. And this API Designer is going to auto-generate the interactive documentation. Whatever you are going to design the API, if you are writing something, automatically the design document also is going to create it. And it will validate the mocking services before you are going to write any code also with this Anypoint Designer. In this Anypoint Designer, the Design Center have mainly two things. One is text editor, another one is visual editor. Using the text editor, it is going to provide you predefined wordings so that you can select them and you can write your API design. And you can even import any existing API specifications also in a text editor. Using the visual editor, you don't have to write any coding much. So there will be the visualization. Using that visualization, you can fill some form kind of a thing. It will auto generate the design document. Other than that, API designer is going to provide you documentation. As soon as you write something in API designer, automatically the document will be generated and it will be useful for the developers as well as end users, customers to understand how the API behavior and what exactly it does and does. And you can use this API designer for testing your applications. Whatever the API you are going to design, you can test it also without writing any single line of a code before that. We can send a request and we can get a response based on the request you sent it. There are some of the behavior headers. We will talk about those and we can simulate different scenarios using those behavior headers. Like I want to get a timeout error. I want to get some specific error. So those kind of things you can get it using this behavior headers. And you can share this API design document with a client or customers and you can reuse that API design document in any Pine Studio or in a Flow Designer to generate flows also. Now, today I'm going to show how we can create a contact API in a design center in any point platform. What is contact API first of all? The contact API is nowadays everybody is using the phone. The contact numbers, contact details are more important if you want to communicate with the other people. You can't memorize hundreds of people's contact numbers or contact details, right? What you can do in your mobile, you are going to save contact. Whenever you meet a new people and if you are getting their contact details, you are saving in your mobile, right? That is contact details. Internally, that uses the APIs. The mobile uses APIs to store your contact. Maybe at a certain point of time, you might delete the contact. So that time also the API will be called. Maybe you are going to update it, or maybe if you want to see the contact, you are going to retrieve the contact details. So this functionality, the contact API, we can perform the following functionality. Creating a contact. As soon as you are meeting some other new people and getting the contact details, you will save that contact number or contact details in your mobile. That is create contact. Maybe you need to call that person. First, you need to retrieve that contact details and then you will be dialing. So that is getting the contact details. The contact person is updated their phone number. You might receive that updated phone number. You are going to update that contact number. Maybe certain time you don't want to maintain their contact in your mobile. You are going to delete that contact. So these are the functionalities we can perform on the contact API. Now I'm going to show how exactly this contact API can be implemented in a Anypoint platform. So I'm in Design Center over here. I'm going to create a new API specification. And as I said, we can create a two types of API specification in a text editor as well as visual editor. The text editor, if you are good at the RAML or OAS, Open API specification, then you can select the first option, the text editor. Otherwise, you can select guide me through it. That means it is going to be visual editor. I'm going to give an API name over here, contact API, selected as guide me through. I'm going to show in my next video how we can write a code in a text editor also. So as of now, I'm going to show as the basics you learn from the visual editor, then go for the text editor and click on create API specification. Now my contact API will have the details like ID, the contact ID, the first name, last name of the contact person, email ID of the contact person, phone number and company of the contact person. And the company might be not a mandatory and we can make it as an optional also. How we can define that we are going to see also. Now I'm going to over here, this is API designer where you are going to design API using the visual editor in Anypoint platform. Here you can see first of all you have API summary about your API. You can write it some documentation how the behavior and all you can define over here. If we have any security related configurations, you can create it over here. Any resources can be created and the data types can be created. I will talk about it, what all these things. First thing is API. My API is contact API. I'm going to give as title as contact API. I'm going to give version as v1.0. Now you can see that over here, the code is generating automatically. I can't edit this one. I can edit only in the visual editor. Whenever you type it something over here, automatically your RAML code is going to generate over here. My API support HTTP and HTTPS. That I'm selecting the protocols as HTTP and HTTPS. And my API support JSON data. So from the drop down, I'm selecting applications as JSON. Over here, automatically it is going to generate the code over here. And my API has some base path. I will say v1 as API. If you have any documentation, you can put it over here, the documentation. This API is used for maintaining contact in application. So any application, it might be the mobile application. I will say that maybe in mobile application. And if you have any security for this API, you can define the security schema and you can secure that API. I don't want to everybody access my API, so that I want to define some secure mechanism for this API so that I can define that in a secure schema and I can use it over here. We'll take a separate video for that, how we can use the secure mechanisms over here. But as of now, this is enough. Now you can see this is basic API summary. Now I can perform functionalities of create contact, get contact, update contact, delete contact. So if you have in such a way, what you can do, you can create a resource over here. I'm going to create a add new resource. You can say here contact. I'm going to show first of all create a contact. Now if you see over here, for creating a contact, you should use a post method. I think I explained about the API methods and all in my previous video. Please watch that video in a above link. Selecting as a post over here, I'm giving that name over here. This is not a mandatory, but I'm giving over here create contact. I can give some description over here. This resource is used for creating a new contact. The description I'm going to give. Whenever you are going to create a contact, you will save with the name and some phone number and email ID, right? So that you should have some body over here. I'm going to add a body over here and I'm going to send a application slash JSON data as my input. Here, I can pass that as a data type. Now, whatever the details I want to save it, this all can be created as a data type. This is data, right? So to store this data, we use data type. So I can create a data type and I can use it over here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say new, add new data type. I will say create contact request, my data type name. Over here, I can add a properties. You can see when I'm going to create it, I will not enter any ID. I will say enter only the first name, last name, those. So the property name is first name and it is required and it is a string type. I'm selecting over here. Another property over here, last name. It is also required. It is also string. I'm going to keep it that. A new property is email. I'm going to select, keep it email. It's not a mandatory, I can say. Then I will give the string type over here. Have different data types over here, like integer, date and all. I will be explaining about in later. Then I have a phone over here. Copy this, add property, then add over here. It is required. A new property over here. I can say company. I can give that company over here, and it is optional. I will leave it over here. If you see, this is all showing that example, and all right. So over here, when you expand it, you can give some name over here. Example, I can say net. Okay, the last name, this is last name. The example is over here. NetBook is my last name. And if you see, I have an email over here. Email is an example over here. What it is there, just example. What I can do, I can copy paste. It is not a mandatory, but for good design, you can keep it this way. It means this is the sample data. Now the phone number. You can give some phone number over here, and over here you can see example. What I can do, I can copy paste what I have with the data over here. Now similarly, the company, I'm going to change it over here, netbook. Here you can see when it is a string data type, you can add some description about that field and you can say that what is the pattern of that field, what is the minimum length of that field, maximum characters of that field, and what is the default value. Like this, you can define many things. Talk about it those in videos. This is how we can create a contact. Okay? This is the data type. Click on place over here, and I'm going to say contact details. Okay. Again, this is the type is object. I'm going to add multiple properties over here where I have done it in previous. This is ID is required. I can say last name, first name, property, last name, then email. Email is not a mandatory. I'm going to uncheck it. Is I'm going to check it over here. Required. Then company. And I'm going to change these values again over here. NetBook. This is the company and this is the phone. The phone I'm going to enter this number. It's just sample data. It is not a real-time data. The email ID, first name. There is an ID over here. I'm going to copy this ID. Going to pass it that ID over here. Like this, we can define a data type. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going back to the contact. I selected a post method over here and in the body, I'm going to select create contact request over here as my input over here. You can see, okay? That is how we can set it, the request. I want to get a response for this, right? After creating. So under response, add a new response. This is the 200 is successful response. Okay, I'm going to say that once the contact details are created, those contact details are going to come as my output. So I'm going to select contact details as my output over here. If we have errors and all, you can define them also, but I will talk about it again in coming video. Now I can create a contact. This is how I am going to design. Now what I want to do is I want to update or get particular contact details, right? So when I want to get a particular contact details, I need to pass a URI parameter as ID. So for now, I'm going to create another resource over here, add resource. What I'm going to do, resource over here is contact as the URI parameter. And add this URI parameter over here, click on this, add URI parameter. I can say ID is my URI parameter. And I can fetch a details. So I can say that get contact. I can write it over here something, and whenever I retrieve the details, I will get a response. That response is contact details. I will get it. So in the body, I'm going to select applications like JSON. I'm going to select as contact details over here. My output. Similarly, I want to update contact details. I can select a put method over here, update contact. And in this case, I need to pass the updated details as my input. So in the body, I'm going to select application/JSON, and in the data type, I'm going to select content contact details over here. The updated details will return back as a response. In the response, I'm going to click on add response. I'm going to save over here, add body. I'm going to say application/JSON, and this updated contact details are going to return back as a response. This is how I can design update method over here for updating the contact detail. That is a put method. I want to design the delete method for a particular ID. I want to delete the contact details. Delete that. Here you can write something over here. As soon as you delete the something, you will get it some response. Add response over here. Once you delete, you will not have anything as a response, right? Because of the contact is deleted. So the response will come as no content as my output. So that is 204 is successful case, but no response is going to return. That is how we can design a RAML using the visual editor over here. So we learned about how we can write a resource. I have created one resource, two resources over here. Under that, the first resource has one method, that is a post method, and the second resource has three methods, that is get method, put method, and delete method. I have created types also over here, contact details and create contact request. This is how we can create a API design using the visual editor. And it generated a RAML code like this, and it generated even OAS, that is Open API specification documentation, and the code also over here. Click on RAML over here. We can use a text editor for the same. I'm going to show in my next video, but in visual editor, this is how we can design an API, and we can convert that as also in text editor also. We can convert, we can click on edit raml now. So what it does, it is going to move it to the text editor now. So as soon as you say send me to the text editor, it will move it to the text editor. But once you move it to text editor, you can't come back to the visual editor again. For the basic learning purpose, use it visual editor, but for once you learn something, you use text editor itself. Click on this and click on continue. Now you should able to see over here all editable text over here. And in my next video, I'm going to show over here how I can create this data. This much code is auto-generated, right? Because of Visual Editor. I'm going to show from the line one how we can create this data. That is what I'm going to show in my next video. And now here you can test that API here. You can see whatever we created that we can test it over here. Now I can click on post. You can see create contact. It is here. Try it out. And I'm going to select mock service. Whatever the example you have written, right? That response is going to return. I'm passing this first name, last name, email, phone, and company as my input and send a request. And you should be able to see the response. You can see 200 success, which has ID and first name, last name, email ID, phone number, and company. This is how the response is written. Back to documentation, and over here you can select get method also. Try it out. You can pass it as some input over here. I need to pass some input over here, the ID, and over here you can see I need to select mock service. You can send a request. Able to see the response as it is like this. This is how we can create a RAML or design document in API Design Center. We learned how to use the Design Center visual editor today. I'm going to teach how we can use text editor and write this API again in my next video. That's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe NetBook in the next video.